What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 4040 Vision podcast. I am your host, Khaled Abdallah, and I'm joined today by a special guest, George Eghator from GeorgeOnSports, an NFL content creator and influencer all the way from the UK. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. Looking forward to chopping it up, man.
Yeah, of course. And today's topic is you and the NFL, your journey to becoming, an NFL fan, a content creator, influencer, all that stuff you want to talk about. So, let's take it back to the beginning. So we mentioned, of course, that you're from the UK. What part of the UK? Where'd you grow up?
All right, so I'm from North London. The easiest way for people to understand is if you're an Arsenal fan, that's where I'm from. If you follow Arsenal and you've seen the stadium on the TV, or maybe you've been to a game, I live like 5 minutes from the stadium, so that's where I'm from. Born and raised, North London. Okay. Although I don't live in London anymore, but that's where I'm from.
Okay. Well, before we go any further, are you an Arsenal supporter?
Yeah, through and through,
okay.
man.
Okay. All right. I'm a Chelsea fan, but it's okay. We can still be friends. And I think that leads to a good question or a question I definitely wanted to ask you was, something I'm always curious about is, American fans, how they become fans of teams overseas. Like, I became a Chelsea fan from playing video games at a time when they were really good. So I wonder, someone like you who grew up in North London, I see you're wearing a Colts hoodie. I know you're a big, Colts super fan. So how did you become a Colts fan in the first place?
All right, so it's a bit of a weird one,
Okay.
but it's the honest truth. So when I started, and I guess this kind of answers one of your other questions about how I got into a fan of the sport in general. They're kind of tied together.
Yeah.
So to take it back, I used to play to you guys soccer, me football. I used to play soccer. I played for a year and I was a bit fed up. I'm not a fan of the whole like guys diving on the floor and faking injuries and that kind of stuff. So I remember I played a game. Yeah, man, It sucks. Yeah, exactly. I played a game and I went home and I was like, I want something different. I'm a contact sports kind of guy. So I got home and then I saw something on the TV and it was rugby. So for those who don't know, rugby is kind of like American football, but it's more you pass backwards. There's no like forward passes on a big ass field and so on and so forth. So I started playing rugby, played rugby for a good 4 or 5 years. And then when I went to university, which is college for you guys, the aim was to continue playing rugby. Now, bearing in mind, I said I'm from North London. I had an American football team, a local team around the corner from me, called the London Blitz, and they were like UK champs 6-7 years in a row. I just wasn't too aware of the sport at that point in time.
Yeah, what league is that in? It's not. I mean, I know it's not like NFL Europe or because I know that was in the 2000s, 90s.
That's right.
But what league was that?
So it's called BAFA, British American Football Association. It's like a local UK organization. They basically run it, not very well, but they run it. So yeah, I got to uni. I wanted to play rugby, but the rugby team trained and played too far from where I lived at the time. And at the time, it was my first year of uni. I didn't drive, so I couldn't get there. So I'm in this big ass hall. We call it a freshers fair, sports fair, where all the societies are trying to get you to sign up. So I've ditched rugby now. I'm looking around, and right next to the rugby table is this other table. They got big ass screens, and I see guys hitting each other. They got cheerleaders, they got trophies. I'm thinking, what's this? And I was like, actually, hold on. I've seen this before because I had it next door to me back home in North London. So I was like, you know what? I didn't even ask any questions. I just put my name down and signed up instantly because number one, I could see it was a contact sport. Number two, it looked kind of similar to rugby. And number three, at the time, and still probably now, I was quite quick. Knew I could catch a ball and run with it. I was like, if that's what I got to do, I'm game. So I signed up to that. And that was in what year did I start uni? 2000 and Jesus Christ, why can I not remember? 2010,
a long time ago. We'll go with that.
Bro, I can't remember. I graduated, 2010, because I graduated in 2014. So 2010. And I never looked back, bro. I never looked back. So I started as a wide receiver when I was a lot, I guess, like slimmer. I started as a wide receiver, thinking, okay, I'm quick, I can catch a ball, and I want to do that. And then I basically had quite a serious groin injury. This is the thing, like you take up the sport and then you realize how many different aspects of your body is required to play the sport. It's not just a case of catching and running. There's more to it. So then I had a groin injury and missed half the season. And then came back as a running back, and I played running back for 11 years straight. So coming back to how I became a Colts fan, I'm playing American football now. I'm into the sport. I'm on the team. Camaraderie It's cool. The vibe is cool. I'm with like 50, 60 other guys, and we meet every week and we train and we play. So I get the game Madden, and I said to myself, all right, cool. I'm fully getting immersed now. I said to myself, the first team that pops up on the screen is going to be my team. Literally,
Wow.
just like that.
Okay.
So normally, any sports game, when you load up the game for the first time, depending on what team has done well that year, it's the team that it will start on the loading screen first, where it goes
Yeah, it's
pick your
usually
team.
like the
Yeah,
two Super Bowl, two
exactly,
Super Bowl teams from the year before.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I have this vivid memory of putting in, I don't know which Madden it was, but I loaded up the game and this horseshoe thing come up, go and pick your team, and the first team was a horseshoe. Now I know that the whole reason that was is because it was the Peyton Manning era. And I
Hmm.
was like, all right, cool. Horseshoe, I guess they're called the Colts. This is my team. I had no idea who they were. I had no idea who Peyton Manning was. I knew nothing about the team, where they were. I didn't even know where Indy was. Literally nothing. And that's it. I've just stuck with them ever since. So there's no like glory hunting. There's no like research. There's no color scheme coordination. I literally just hit a team and bang, that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, people have different reasons, right? Like they'll go with a team that, is maybe they've seen come play in London or
Yeah.
something, or overseas, or
Mm.
the colors match up. There's plenty of teams that wear red and white, like Arsenal. So you went in the
Yeah.
complete opposite direction. You went with basically the Chelsea colors
Facts.
for your team there. But it was a good time to become a Colts fan, right? The
Yeah,
Peyton
man.
Manning era. I mean, you guys have had some lean times a
Hmm.
little recently, but we'll definitely talk about that a little bit later. But
Oh, we will
I
for sure, bro.
yeah. But I want to talk about your experience actually playing the game. So,
Hmm.
your first time ever playing football was in college, right?
Hmm.
So, I know, I think at its core, football is a pretty simple game, right? You run, catch,
Yep.
hit, block, tackle. It's not that complicated, but when
Hmm.
obviously as you progress and you get better and better, it gets more complicated. So,
Hmm.
what skills were you able to bring over from your, soccer skills and other things
Hmm.
like that? And what was that transition like?
So, to be honest, the transition was quite easy, and I only say that because I'm very, I'm very much athletic and very much sporty. I love to get involved in different things. Like right now, I kickbox, which is very different to American football. But um, I used to play rugby, so I brought over the contact element was a no brainer. I mean, I was already okay. The only difference was you wear pads and you wear helmets.
Hmm.
In rugby, you don't wear any of that. So the contact element was a bit of a shock at first because the day after training or the day after a game, you got whiplash in your neck, like your body's hurting, and you're thinking, "What on earth?" You feel like you've been hit by a car. Um, but the transition itself was quite seamless in terms of the running element, the fitness element, the contact element. That bit was all good. I think for me, the newish stuff was all right. We get playbooks now, so now you got a playbook. Now you got you got power, you got sweep, you got inside zone, you got counter, you got outside zone, you got play action, you got. I mean, I was playing wide receiver as well in my first year. We're talking go routes, deep routes, slants, 5 yard and hitch, 10 yard, like, and it's just for me, this is all new. But even then, I mean, I was very much in the headspace of I want to get really good at this.
Hmm.
So I'd go home, I'd study my playbook because when it comes to training, if you don't, if coach calls a play and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to show up. There's nowhere to hide, right? You can't. If you
Yeah.
run the wrong route, you do the wrong thing, you're gonna get in trouble. And I don't want to be doing push-ups for no one. So that did happen a few times. But yeah, for me, that was the physical element and the athletic element was quite straightforward. I'm always in the gym. I'm kind of like just ready anyway, if that makes sense. It was
Hmm.
the playbook element, which I enjoyed because I enjoyed it, and I knew it got to the point where a coach could call anything, and I'd be like, yeah, cool, bam, bam, bam. You're supposed to do that. X receiver, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that, and that's what I enjoyed about it. So before I knew it, I was so fully immersed. And the thing is, when you're at college, like, and you're part of the society of American football, the team. Everything you do is I always say, like, I think joining that team made my experience at uni because
Hmm.
we had a social every single week, and obviously sports teams get like special privileges as well, and everyone's like, it's kind of like I kind of describe it like there's a couple of the guys from the UK who are now playing college football in the States, and I had one on my show, and we were talking about the whole Letterman jacket that you have to earn, and you walk down the hallways, and people kind of like, oh, he's a football player. It kind of feels a little bit like that. So no, I loved every second of it, still to this day, and you're so
Hmm.
immersed in the culture, the brotherhood and the sisterhood of it as well. There's just it's so intense, but I love everything about it. So um, that was one of the reasons why I stuck with it. I played it for as long as I could. I mean, sometimes I feel like, oh, do I want to go back and play? But then my body reminds me, no, you can't be doing that anymore. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but
Yeah.
I took a step away.
Eventually, right? Your body
Yeah,
quits on you,
yeah,
lets you
for
know,
real.
yeah, this is probably not a
Hmm.
good idea. So you mentioned that you played for 11 years. So obviously you
Yeah,
played
bro.
after college as well. So where did you play after you finished up at uni?
Okay, so the way it works over here is now anyway. Back then there wasn't so much exposure, but now you can start all the way from flag football, so like 6 or 7 years old, which I guess I don't know if that's Pee Wee age over there. I'm not too sure what age Pee
Yeah,
Wee
something like
starts.
that. Yeah.
All right,
hmm
so you can start with flag, except I started at 18 years of age, which is very late, very late. 18 years of age, full contact. And then after I played 3 years at uni, so that was basically 3 years at college. And then after that, I took half a year off to let my body recover. I had moved from London to Kent, a place called Kent, in the southeast of England. And then you join a senior team, so you go from a uni team to a senior team. And basically, every city has at least two teams. Normally, a team in like a League A and a League B, essentially, like an A team or a B team. Some teams just have one team, which is their A team. Some teams will just have a B team. So I joined the
And
local
sorry, at
team.
this point, are you a professional? You're being paid to play?
Bro, are you ready for this tea? You ready for this tea? The UK is
Uh-huh.
the only country where you can play American football and not be paid for it. It's the reverse.
Mm.
You have to pay to play. You don't get paid in the UK.
I mean,
Um,
believe it or not, out here we have something called semi-pro, which is same idea where
mm,
you actually pay to play. You're paying for your
yeah,
uniform, your pad. You have to
yeah.
bring your own pads and helmet and all
hmm
that. So, I mean,
hmm
it's not that uncommon. But yeah, so
Okay,
okay, it's a pay to
yeah,
play. So that means you're dedicated. That's what it shows.
yeah. That's it. So for 11 years, I paid to play. And when you go to play senior ball, so I played senior ball with Kent Exiles. I was there for 5 years. They were my local team, like half an hour away from me. And then when I joined them, they were in Div 2, which was at the bottom league. And then we went to Div 1, and then we made it into the Premiership, essentially, it took 5 years for us to get there after like up and downs, up and downs. So no, technically in the UK, that is what you would call, it's still amateur though. We can't even call it professional because it is
hmm
still amateur. Um, and at no point do you get paid. The only time you do get paid is when you move to play in any other country but Europe, because then any other country in Europe,
hmm
because then you're considered an import. So, prime example, there are tons of guys from the States who come over to the UK to study, and they will go to the best college teams because and for example, there's a team called University of West England in Bristol Bullets, UWE they're called for short, and they got hella guys from the States there because they've all come to study,
Really?
and all of them just go, oh, what, we can play ball, and all of them load up the team, and then they basically just smash everybody and win the title over and over and over again, which technically isn't fair, but there's no rules to stop you from doing that. So yeah, you don't get paid over here. I played 5 years of Kent Exiles, again running back, and then after Kent Exiles, I wanted to test myself a bit more. So I said to myself, I'll stay until we get promoted to the Prem manager in the last year, just before I left. And then I went to a team called London Blitz. Now, I mentioned earlier, London Blitz are the team that were local to me in North London. So it's almost like full circle. I never actually went down to London Blitz when I was younger, but I ended up transferring, if you like, to London Blitz because they were a Premiership caliber team. They've been champs many times over. So when you go to London Blitz, it's an upper echelon. The work is harder. You train
hmm
harder. You're in the gym with the team 2-3 times a week. So I wanted to experience that before I looked at retiring, if you like. So that
Yeah.
was just before COVID hit, which sucked a little bit because COVID ruined some of that. But I played for London Blitz for 2-3 years, and then basically threw in the towel.
hmm I mean, it's wild to me that there's promotion and relegation in the American football pyramid
Yeah,
out there too. I mean,
yeah, there is,
that
bro. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's just like ingrained in the culture over there because everything else promotes relegation. I mean, we're having a
hmm
big fight here with MLS and USL and all these other minor leagues about
Yeah.
the pro rel and all that out here. So that's
hmm
wild to me. Uh, yeah, man. And then, so when you were playing with these guys, I mean, where are these coaches coming from? Is it mostly
mm.
local people that have just, picked up the game, or is there a lot of folks from America coming over and coaching and doing all that as well?
That's a good question because a lot of people, again, number one, they probably don't realize that we play the sport out here anyway. But number two,
hmm
um, so the way it works is you have guys who were dominant when they played, like back in the day. You mentioned it for Europe. So back in the day, Wembley Stadium, right, where we hold one of the London games. The sport in this country, like you talk about the London Monarchs, the London Ravens, they're historical teams. I mean, I think even Sean Payton played here with the London Monarchs. I think it was, or one of the other teams, and what's his name? Cowboys.
Is it Jason
Jason
Garrett?
Garrett, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
he played over here too. Like, it was booming. We were selling out stadiums. We were sponsored by Coca-Cola, Budweiser. We were like literally it was booming. And then for some reason, in terms of like administration and the league, like BAFA, whatever happened, political issues, it took a nosedive, and it's been nosediving ever since. So in
I mean,
terms
I
of
remember as
coaches,
a
it's a
kid,
lot of
like, yeah, I was gonna say, I remember as a kid when NFL Network first came around, they started showing NFL Europe games. I remember seeing it was like Rain Fire, I
Mhm.
think like Barcelona Dragons, the
Yeah,
London, said the
yeah,
Monarchs, like, all these,
yeah,
and there was guys that made it from there to the NFL, and it was
yeah,
almost like
yep,
a stepping stone, like another minor league. But yeah, it's unfortunate that
exactly.
it's not there anymore. But it sounds
It
like the
is.
sport is thriving anyway. So
I mean, yes and no to that one.
okay,
Um, so yeah, so like so like the coaches are a mixture of like people who played the sport back in the day and they got love for the game. Bear in mind, right? Nobody gets paid, not even the coaches. The coaches don't get
mm,
nothing, so they give up all their free time away from their families to travel down to coach, only to get to I don't know maybe the local team and half the team ain't showed up, and then you get it in the ear. You might I'm one of them guys who would always show up. And then the guys that are there, you get put in that good light because you came down, you're showing commitment. But then it's like, if you don't have a full O line, you can't run certain plays. If you ain't got full D line, you can't do certain things, and then you're limited to what you can do at practice, which then just ruins your whole preparation for the game on Sunday. So the coaches are a mixed bag between like parents, people who have played before. We do on occasion get coaches who come down from parts of Europe, sometimes from the US, because they want to make that difference and help out. But generally, it's people who have played before who all have some kind of interest and they have to get their coaching badges. Only issue is sometimes you get coaches who just show up, they put the gear on, and they because they look the part, they think they can do the
hmm
part, and it doesn't always work that way. So yeah, we don't get no one special in particular. Um, there are a handful of coaches who like are very, very reputable. Like they can, for example, there's a guy called Tony Allen. Probably haven't heard about him. He has very strong links to the NFL himself. Like here's an example. So F.A. Abada, Washington Commanders right now. I don't know if you heard about him. He's a D line for the
I haven't.
Commanders.
No.
He's from
hmm
yeah. So he's number 97. He broke his leg, so he's out right now. But he's from the UK. Um, another guy. Cowboys defensive line coach Aidan Durdy, mixed race guy, bald head. He is from the UK. Started here at the the bottom of the barrel and worked his way up to the NFL. He was coaching with the Falcons. Now he's the defensive line coach for the Cowboys, who just got spanked, by the way. So yeah, there are a handful of coaches who are legit, and like you mentioned their name. I say Tony Allen, his name holds a lot of weight here and in parts of the states. So, but
hmm
generally, it's coaches who have played before. They're going through their coaching badges, and then they basically go to their local team or somewhere not too far away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stunned kind of by the parallels because the soccer pyramid here or whatever the organization is almost exactly the same. My nephews and nieces, they play pretty high level club
Mm,
soccer out here, and it's almost the exact same thing. It's just people that show up, people that
yeah,
volunteer, they get paid a little bit, and sometimes if they have an accent, people take them seriously because like, oh, okay, you're from the UK,
you know
you
what
know
you're talking
soccer.
about. Yeah,
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 exactly, right. So I'm
yeah.
assuming it's the same thing. Maybe a guy shows up with like a
one
Texas
hundred
accent, and they're
percent.
like, oh, okay.
Bro, I remember being at uni or college and having certain coaches come down. Sometimes you'll have a coach come down for like one session and they make a big thing of it. They'll put promo out, be like, oh, make sure you come down because we've got this coach coming. And the moment they start speaking, you kind of get chills. You're like, oh shit, sorry, my bad. You get, oh damn, like this guy knows what he's talking about. He's got an American accent. Then you straighten up real quick. You work that extra harder because you think, oh, this guy's got the connections. He's got the links. But it's always fun when that happens. It just doesn't
Mhm.
happen often.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So I also wanted to ask you about your experience as a football fan in the UK, like how you consume the content. I feel like
Mm,
out here, we're up early, out here on the West Coast. Sometimes I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to watch a Premier League game. The
hmm
timing's okay aside from that. So for you, like, are you up in the middle of the night when the Colts are on prime time, or is it usually? I
Okay.
mean, I think it's usually in the evenings, right, when they play
Yeah.
their 10
So put
o'clock
it
games.
So put it this way. So obviously you guys have the early kickoff, the late kickoff, and then you got the I don't know what you call it, like the extra late kickoff, which is like
You like prime time. We call it prime
prime
time.
time, which is what 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock Eastern.
Eastern, right? So for us, and I'm going by Red Zone here because obviously people love Red Zone here, but what I do is I watch Red Zone and then I'll watch Colts to the side.
Oh yeah, of
So
course. You
six
gotta have
o'clock,
gotta have two
yeah,
screens
yeah,
going.
I got that's right, that's right. So 6 o'clock is the time, 6 o'clock UK time, which I believe is 1 a.m. What so 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
Um, so that would be your early games. That's our early games. But for us, that's 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's already like a prime time game for us. So all the games kick off at 6. I watch all of them. Then you get the 9 o'clock games, which is your 4 o'clock games, I believe.
Yep.
4 o'clock games. Again, 9 o'clock now. We're talking. It's getting a little bit late, and we know we've got to be up another 2 hours to watch the 9 o'clock games. We'll watch those 9 o'clock games, snacks, drinks, keeping yourself going. Then it's normally the primetime games, 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m., half 1 a.m. UK time, which is a killer. But here's the thing. There are the community in the UK of NFL fans, whilst it's quite niche, it's growing and it's big, right? So listen, we basically know that on the next day, Monday morning, we're going to be hanging. We know that, and we don't care anyway, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like, look at where we're at now. We're at divisionals, right? The season is nearly done. Then we've got 6 horrible months of an off season, 6, 7 months, 5, 6, 7 months of an off season, where we got no ball, we got nothing to do. You guys over there, at least being in the States, I figure like, we've got NFL Network and stuff like that, so we can watch all that kind of stuff. But it's all repetition until off-season moves start happening, and then April comes around, I think, for camp, and then you got the draft as well. But for us, we then turn our attention to like the Premier League running and things like that. So it's a lot of late nights, and we have to prepare our bodies, because once the season's done, it's the summer for us, so we have all the summer to chill. We watch the Premier League or any other sports that people want to watch, and then come September, it's like, all right, we've got to lock in, because Sunday nights are about to get horrible. And the first few Sunday nights, you're like, oh man, like you're falling asleep on the sofa. But we're committed, man. Honestly, we're so committed. My body's so in tune with just being up until like 4 or 5 in the morning. I got kids as well, so I go to bed at like 4 in the morning, get up at 5:30. It's time to go to school. All of that. So it is what it is, man. We love the sport.
Yeah, I respect the dedication, man. I mean, it's all everything you're doing right now is for the love of the game. So, are there like supporters groups? Like, do you meet up with like a London Colts group or something at a pub or a bar or a restaurant?
It's a good question. So there aren't as many as you might think. In fact, I don't think Colts alone aren't a high market team, even in the States. But they're not a high market team. I don't think people really chat about Indy out there. I don't suppose they do. Maybe now because of Anthony Richardson. Yeah. So over here, it's even more so. Like, I'm probably the biggest UK fan in terms of my visibility and what I do in terms with access to the team itself. But no, I mean, I'm part of a UK Colts group. Funnily enough, I actually met them for the first time in Germany. I mean, we'll come on to that. I went to Germany for that game and I met them out there. But otherwise, it's not often that any fan team really do that. I mean, it will happen on occasion. Sundays, they'll go to meet up. There'll be like one generic place in London that shows all the games on multiple screens. It's normally like a casino. There's a handful of places where you can go and watch all the games. So that's where people will congregate. Otherwise, you won't really find. You're more likely to find that in soccer over here than the NFL for obvious reasons.
And like, how do you think the fact that we have, I think 2 or is it 3 or maybe even 4 London games now, or at least games in Europe, like how has that helped kind of grow the sport there? Have you seen like a market difference in interest and stuff?
Man, listen, they've been playing games here, I want to say since 2007. Could be wrong. And I think the Bears are one of the first teams. Every single year they've held games here. Every single game is sold out. Every single game. So I think it started at Wembley, continued at Wembley for years, and still is at Wembley now. And then another stadium, Twickenham, which is predominantly a rugby stadium we used to use. We don't use Twickenham anymore. However, how it works right now is we have one game at Wembley, and obviously that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have their own 10-year deal, I believe it is, with the UK to host at least one game every year.
They played twice there this year,
Exactly. First time back-to-back, and they won both games. Essentially, they're the UK team, right? Fans in the UK, if they don't have a team to support, they'll support the Jags because the Jags are always here, and it makes sense. So we have one at Wembley, 2 at Tottenham Stadium. Now, Tottenham Stadium is the only NFL purpose-built stadium in Europe. The only purpose-built stadium.
Wow.
And the stadium was actually built, it was paid for half by the NFL, half by Tottenham. So I don't know if you know, but
interesting.
Yeah, it has two surfaces, two retractable surfaces. So one for soccer, one for American football. Although, if you ask Von Miller, he'll tell you that he wasn't very impressed with the surface after he played here.
I remember a few years back, there was I think it was City against Spurs, and there was still the yard line markers on the field at some point. This was, I think Aguero was still there, so it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. But
that'd be Wembley or maybe Twickenham. Yeah, one of them. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, man. I mean, the growth of the sport here is every single year it gets bigger, and because there. When I started in 2010, there was hardly any promo, hardly any initiative to get involved in the sport. Now, I mean, you can look anywhere, and you've got advertisements about the sport. You've got collaborations between US and UK people. I mean, if you just look at, we've got something called the NFL Academy, which is for 16 to 19-year-olds. It's here in London, and no, it's moved to a place called Loughborough now. But essentially, 16 to 19-year-olds, you get full education, but at the same time, you're being trained by the best of the best. You've got Riddle, and I forget the name of the brand names of the helmets now. Basically, you get people flying in from the States to come and coach you, kit you up. You get the best of the best of the best. An elite weight room.
Wow.
Jerry Rice came over here to coach the kids, like Marshall Lynch, everybody. And then basically the aim of that is at the end of your 2 or 3 years, you're supposed to be allocated to a JUCO, Div 1, Div 2, or Power 5 team. And it's been running for the last 2 years. And there was 2 or 3 years, 2019. No, sorry, longer than that, since 2019. And what's happening is now the younger generation are seeing that there's a pathway to make it out to the States. So as we speak right now, there's a guy who I interviewed. His name is Daniel Akinkunmi. He signed with the Sooners. We've got another guy who went to Northwestern. We've got another guy who went to Boise State. Like it's happening year in, year out. So there's so many different initiatives to get involved now, and it starts a lot with flag. Flag football has been booming like no other. Obviously, you've heard about it being in the Olympics, LA Olympics
Yeah, yeah.
2028. The UK are quite good when it comes to flag football. Obviously, I imagine you guys will probably be up there, but honestly, it grows every single year. And there's talk about having a permanent team over here. I'll tell you right now, it's never going to happen. There's too much red tape, too much logistics. It wouldn't be fair for the other teams to, having to. It just wouldn't work. I mean, I love the idea, but nah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough sell. I can imagine, a team from
Hmm.
the West Coast, like it's tough enough having to fly out there, but if it's a regular thing, and then,
Yeah,
I think it's kind of pie in the sky. Maybe a team in Mexico City before a team in
yeah,
London, but
possibly. Yeah, time
you
zone
know,
and all that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's not too far from us, but
Mm.
so I mean, you mentioned that when you got started in kind of the content creation, this NFL space. When did you decide to do that, and what inspired you to start doing that?
Yeah. Okay, so it started in towards the end of my playing career, if you like. So maybe like year 9 of playing. Myself and about 7 of us on the same team now. This is at Kent. So basically, we'd finish playing, we'd go into the locker room, and we'd start having these debates about what happened during the game. Official didn't call this. How was that not a touchdown? We need like VAR, which is VAR is essentially like camera booth review sort of thing. And it was basically we said to ourselves, no one in the UK is talking about the level of football in the UK in terms of how good it is or how bad it is, and what's basically locker room talk, right? So one of them was like, why don't we actually start putting this out there, set up a podcast and put it out there? So we was like, yeah, you know what? We're doing it right now. We're talking about the game. Let's just record it and get it out there. So basically we started a podcast called the X's and O's podcast, which I headed up in terms of social media. So I was correct. It's on my there's a link to it on my Instagram. So we covered UK American football. Did that for like 4
Hmm.
years. So we would do a podcast in the studio. We'd get like the biggest guests on from the UK who have played. Like there's a lot of OGs in the UK who played in the States when it was a lot easier. So when we're talking about selling out stadiums and having the London Monarchs. So we'd bring them onto the show. We talk about the game then, the game now, and we'd bring on current guys as well and talk about the state of the game just to raise the exposure. So we started doing that. We did that for 4 years. And whilst we were doing that, we basically created a relationship with NFL UK because they could see that we were trying to help expose the game over here, which is what they want to do. They're just trying to grow the game over here as much as possible.
Mhm.
So we basically had a working relationship with them. They'd give us access to certain events and stuff. And as you can tell, I'm quite an outgoing guy. I'll speak to anybody. So I became that guy where I'd be networking and making contacts and connects and so on and so forth. But it got to a point where I was like, I really want to do NFL. And I just wanted to do more because I knew what I'm capable of. And I was like, I'm not necessarily going to get it from this group. And truth be told, a lot of them weren't too interested in progressing forward. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to do this thing on my own. So I basically like jumped out and left. We're still boys. We still chat. And then I was like, I started getting invitations to go to particular events. I don't know if you've heard of the NFL International Combine.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so we had that over here. I think 3 years straight. And that was one of the first events I went to that I was invited to go to on my own. And I found myself at the Tottenham Stadium, and I was chatting to guys like OC and Manura, Jason Bell, and all the other people there. And I was like, you know what? This is what I wanted. This is what I've wanted to be doing. I've wanted to, I'm out here. I'm making my own connects. I'm building relationships. And I was like, normally I go to an event or we go have X's and O's, and I'll post it on the social. I'll post it on our page. But the stuff that I was doing at that point was stuff that was all connected to me, and I was like, I can't really post that on the page because it's kind of like it's me. If that makes
No, it
sense.
makes sense. Yeah.
So I got back home and I was like, at the time I was umming and ahhing about leaving because we had loads of disagreements for different reasons, and it was getting a bit bitter. And I said to my wife, she was like, you know what, you just need to do your own thing, because I knew what I wanted to do. She could see what I wanted to do, and it was always happening without me saying anything. So I was like, you know what, I'm done. And she was like, all right, this is you now. It's George on Sports. She come up with a name, so shout out to my wife. She came up with a name, and I was like, you know what, this is it. So I just set up an Insta, and I started posting things. And what I did was I used the relationships I had made in the prior 4 years to help me get to where I wanted to get to. One thing I wanted to do was podcasting, just like we're doing right now. So I'm very much a guy where if someone says no, I'm just going to knock on the next door. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? So I
Yeah.
basically was hitting up people left, right, and center. Want to come on the show? Want to come on the show? This is what I do, etc., etc. And I used the first guest to leapfrog to the next guest, to the point where I was able to get people like Dean Blondino, Stacey Dales, Laura Oakman, Justin Jefferson. Like, it's been
some
been
big
crazy.
names.
Yeah, it's decent, man. I mean, I never really had a target in terms of what I was doing, but I was just rolling with the punches. So I'm starting to do more things now. At that time, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing small bits of content creation, like I'm making little edits for game days and like pictures on a website called Canva. I don't know if you heard of Canva.
Yeah, of course. That's what I use.
Yeah, there you go. I was using Canva, and then basically it kind of just grew, because with X's and O's, when we filmed, we'd go to like when the teams come over here for the London games, we'd go to their practice days, the media days, and I'd be the one asking questions. I'd be the one getting footage. So then I'd come back home, get on my Mac, and use iMovie to edit up, chop it up, and then post it. So I was like, okay, let me up it a little bit. So I invested in Final Cut Pro, which is like a one up from iMovie, and I started, bought a bit more equipment, used some of the equipment I already had, and just thought, let me try and take it up a notch. And slowly my stuff kind of evolved. So I don't make like game day edits anymore. Now I'm in a space where I'm doing interviews with like directors. And so I say directors, like, for example, the Vikings are one of the UK home teams. So we've got 6 teams who have been allocated a UK marketing slot. So the Vikings, the Jags, the Bears, the 49ers, the Jets, and the Miami Dolphins all have UK marketing rights. So now I'm at the point where Alexander Mattison came over last year. They're hitting me up like, do you want to come and do an interview?
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so it's just got to that point where I'm seen as one of the, like, I don't know, one of the content creators of NFL in the UK, or maybe even Europe. So I'm kind of like first port of call, which I love. I mean, it was never the plan. I just wanted to do my own thing and see how far I could go. So I've just got to the point now where I'm mixing in different circles. I'm going to every London game as media, as press, which is amazing for me. I'm going to the games in Germany, which is also amazing. And then you mentioned about the games. This year we got 3 in London, 1 in Germany again, and 1 in Brazil, which I'm definitely be going to.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which again for you guys isn't too much of a difference in terms of the time zone, right?
I think they're like an hour past East
Oh,
Coast
that's
time.
dope.
So yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Not
So
bad
it's
at
going
all.
to be me
Yeah.
that's suffering this time. But yeah, man, honestly, it's grown and transformed. Like, when I started, I look back. If I look back on my page and look at what I was doing back then, I would. If someone had said to me, right, you're going to have an interview with Alexander Mattison, you're going to have an interview with, I think her name's Keisha Wyatt. She's the director of international marketing for the Vikings, and you're going to have a great. And from that, they then booked me to do different jobs here in the UK, or you're going to go to an event with Chase Claypool when he's with the Bears at Tottenham Stadium, or I mean, all these things that have just been happening. I would never in a million years have imagined that was going to happen, but I've just continued to build on what I've done, and it's just taking me to all these places that I really can't complain. I'm going to the Super Bowl, for God's sake. Like, bro, I
Oh
mean,
wow. Yeah,
yeah,
I definitely want to. We'll definitely talk about that. But I do have a question for you. I mean, obviously, you're good at what you do. You've gotten better over the years. There's the skills that you have. You're a very personable guy, very outgoing. But I think there's like a level of authenticity that I think that is very apparent with you. That you played the game for a long time for the love of the game, because you care. It's not about the paycheck or anything like that. You truly love the game, and of course, that's going to translate to your content creation and
Hmm.
your fanhood and all that stuff. So I think that's like, you can fake all the other stuff. You can have incredible production value,
Yeah.
the best special effect, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
if the authenticity is not there, if the real love for the game's not there, then none of that stuff matters. And
One
it's
hundred
obvious
percent.
that you have that. So
100%.
you hinted at a couple things, but was there a moment, maybe it's going to be at Super Bowl, but where you're like kind of pinching yourself, like, I can't believe this is happening, or something that really like
Uh,
you were
do you know
kind of
what?
starstruck, maybe?
Yeah, I think I've got a few. One of them was, so I got more recent. One of them was, obviously I'm a Colts fan, right? So back in the day, and still to this day, I hit up guys from the team, and I'm like, "Oh, do you want to come on the show?" Obviously, 9 times out of 10, they never read it, it never gets seen because they've either got someone managing it for them, or they're on like strict instructions and they can't do certain things.
Hmm.
Anyway, it got to the point where I figured out how to contact some of their communications team. Like, I'm that guy. Like, I will go the extra mile. I will search up online, LinkedIn, anything on Google where I can find an email address, to the point where I worked out the format of all the Colts email addresses and was like, okay, this guy's who I need, this person's who I need. So I'd be emailing
Oh,
everyone.
that's clever.
Yeah, man. Till I was getting replies, and I was like, "Oh, look, I'm heading out to Germany to watch the team. I'm this guy. I've done." And at this point, I'm able to reel off people that I've connected with, and relationships that I've made, and content that I've worked on, to the point where I look legit. I mean, I am legit, but I look legit from somebody else's view. Someone from the States, someone from the UK, contacting someone in a comms team for the Colts, an NFL team. They're probably looking at me like, this guy is nothing. So I have to try and make sure that I can capture their interest the moment they open my email. So I get to Germany, I get to Frankfurt, the Colts are playing. I'm in my zone. There's a couple of guys that I already chat to from the Colts team that I know. So I'm on the field. They're doing a flag event with some local German kids, and then they bring out some of the practice squad players. And one of the guys that I'm talking about is Xavier Scott, who um, is on the team. He comes out with them, and I think he told me he was coming out, and I didn't realize he was going to be there then. So I'm there catching my content like I normally do, and he just comes up, and I'm thinking, oh, this is mad. Like, he was on my show as well. I had him on the show, and now we're face to face, literally just chatting. It was just insane to think that, I'm in my element right now. I'm in Germany, of all places. The Colts are here too. I'm seeing guys that I'm seeing the beat reporter JJ Stankovic, who have had on my show 3-4 times. I chat to him a lot. He's here. We're literally chopping it up. Then I get to see the team practice. Jonathan Taylor's right in front of my eyes. Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, DeForest Buckner. It's just, it doesn't get any better than that. So I was
Hmm.
just living. I was in my element, like, through and through. And then I got to do interviews. So the pre-game interviews, I'm interviewing head coach Shane Steichen, Bernard Reimann, the left tackle from Austria, and for him it was a homecoming game because he's from Austria, not too far from
Wow.
Germany, speaks
Hmm.
fluent German. I'm speaking to Gardner Minshew. It was just like a pinch me moment. Like, I'm sitting next to Colts media team who know who I am, and for me, I'm like, this is just nuts, like creme de la creme kind of stuff. And then after the game, oh, actually, sorry, during the game, I decided to do a bit of commentary. I've never done commentary in my life, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do some commentary. So I set my phone up, went on Insta Live. I've got all my own equipment, so I set up my microphone and I was giving a review. Before you know it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with this. And people, not a lot of people were watching, but the people back home here who knew how excited I was to be here were like, oh, they were tuning in. So I'm calling the game now. I'm bearing in mind the game wasn't high scoring, but it was entertaining because, number one, it's the Patriots and we hate the Patriots. Number two, we basically, we beat them, and this is sending Bill on his way down to leaving the team. Obviously, they've now separated.
Yeah.
I'm going mad on the mic. Like, Gardner Minshew is making plays for Josh Downs. He's scrambling. JT's making plays. Alec Pierce's cat. It was insane. I was just loving it, and I had a lot of love on that, in particular from JJ as well. So for me to receive feedback from people in the Colts organization just made me feel real good. You know what I mean? So I'm going into the post game conference. I'm speaking to Daiwa Dengbo, who I met his whole family. I was out in the street in Germany doing fan content. Again, something else I'd
Hmm.
like to do. I'll just get out to the street and speak to
I
people.
love that stuff.
Yeah, man, that's what I was
Can't get
doing.
enough.
And exactly, they had a big Colts helmet there, so I pitched up by the helmet. The moment people see someone who they think isn't from Germany, isn't from the US, wearing tons of Colts gear with a microphone and a camera, they're like, "Oh shit, who's this guy?" So for
Hmm.
me, it worked real well because I had Bernard Ryman's mum come up to me. I had Xavier Scott, the guy that I had on my show, his mum tapped me on my shoulder whilst I was filming. And I'm like, who's this woman interrupting my shoot? I was like, oh, sorry, I'm trying to film. She's like, oh, I'm Xavier's mum. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. Um, I had Dio Dembo's family come and chat to me. So yeah, that whole trip was amazing. Another quick
It's like
story as well,
peak fan experience there for you.
bro. Honestly, peak fan experience. Aside from going to Indy, I've not been to Indy.
Mhm.
The other kind of pinch me moment was not last year, but the year before when the Saints and the Vikings played. So Stacey Dale's obviously sideline reporter. She come over, and this particular day was a Saints. It was a very private Saints pre-game conference. It was in a really really tiny room. Some of their wives were in the room as well. So number one, I was privileged to even be in that room because I was like thinking, "Damn, this is well personal." So I walk in the room, and I always dress to impress, right? Depending on what the event is, I dress to make sure that whoever sees me is going to question whether I'm a player, whether I work for media, because I want to give off a certain vibe. So I walk in the
Mhm.
room and I recognize Stacey Dales. I'm thinking, shit, Stacey Dales is standing right next to me. Yeah, she's tall, got the long blonde hair, got the mic. I'm thinking, damn, just play it cool, play it cool, play it cool. Remember your questions. Don't be asking that stupid, which I never do. I take a lot of time in my questions. I research
Mhm.
hard. And then she looks at me and goes, you look like you play. I was like, yeah, I did actually play. And that was it, bro. Honestly, that was it. To the point where we were exchanging numbers. Stacey's been on my show twice. I see her at the Germany games, literally. And that was from, I guess, first appearances. Anyway, cut a long story short, Mark Ingram comes out on the stand. I asked the first question. And I did my research. I was like, I think he had just eclipsed 10,000 all-purpose yards for the Saints and became the number one in their history book. So the first thing I said was,
Mhm.
Big Trust. Obviously, Big Trust is
Yep.
is
Yep.
all about him. And
Yeah.
he looked around the room and went, "Who said that?" I was like, me." He's like,
Yeah.
The moment he looked at me, I knew I'd got him. I knew it. So at
That's that
first I said,
authenticity again, man,
That's
right
what I'm
there.
saying. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And I was like, congratulations on the 10,000 yards. He was like, thank you for saying that. Because all the other questions were typical media questions. That's the one thing I don't do. My questions are personal. I want them to relax with me. And so what happened was I asked him a good question. He reciprocated the love. When he left, we took a photo. The next day, I came back for the training session. So I'm waiting for Jameis Winston and Chris Olave to come out on the podium. Behind me, like, I don't know, 100 yards down there, all the guys are coming off the field, going into this big bubble tent to warm up, to warm down, stretch, etc. I'm with some of my people now. There's a big crowd because a big media crowd because we're waiting for the guys to come out on the podium. And then someone taps me on my shoulder. And I looked around and I was like, what the fuck? I'm trying to get this content. I looked and it was Mark Ingram. And I'm thinking, what? Basically, at the time, when my hair was a lot shorter, I used to wear my hair up. So it's very distinctive, which again was intentional. So he had remembered me from the question that I asked the day before and he made his way to come and say, hey, bearing in mind where he was going was nowhere near where he came to find me. So I was like, oh man, this is good. It's going to get for me. So yeah, to cut a very long, very long story short, I'm always going the extra mile. Always going the extra mile.
Mhm.
I will be the guy who's up in the AM doing that extra bit of research because I know this question might hit, and if it hits, like it did in Germany, there was a question I asked in Germany, and I woke up the next morning, and one of the Eric Jackson, I think his name is, who writes for the Indy Star, had done this massive report on me. The guy had labeled me like the biggest Colts fan in Europe, and I was like, what?
I saw that
Bro, I
article
lost my
when I
mind.
was when I was trying to read up on you, so I could do my preparations. I was reading
Yeah.
that article a couple days ago. So
Yeah. I was blown away.
that's incredible, man. I'm telling you, it's real, recognized real. It's just the authenticity's there. They see the passion and all that. And you
Mm.
mentioned that you're going to the Super Bowl. What's going on there? What
Yep.
are you planning on doing there?
Oh man, a whole bag of things. So this is another thing, right? When you go to the London games and you get into the media room, all the media sit together, you eat together, and then you go to your different places, right? Everyone in that room, and this is something I only realized last year. Everybody in that room is tied to a media outlet, Sky, CNN, Fox, something like that, right? And someone came up to me and said, "Oh, who you with?" And I looked at them funny. I was like, "What do you mean, who am I with?" They're like, "Who you with?" I was like, "Nobody. I'm with myself." And I was like, "My bad, it's George on Sports." They were like, I said, yeah. And it's only at that point that I realized I was like, "Oh, damn, I'm getting into these rooms as me." You talk about authenticity. I'm getting into these rooms as me, and I'm just like, I've never really. I don't often look. I don't often look back at like things that I've done if that I just continue to move forward. So when this guy said to me, "Who are you with?" I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm just here, George on Sports, bro." And then he was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool because these guys are with Sky and whatnot." So fast forward to now. Super Bowl in Vegas. I've never been to Vegas. I've only ever been to New York. I was in New York for the Macy's Parade for Thanksgiving some years ago when Megatron scored 3 touchdowns after I just traded him away in fantasy. I'll never forget it. So yeah, the fact that I'm able to get to these places just on my own accord is insane to me. Like, basically, I have an NFL communications account, and you basically have to apply for these events. So the London games you apply for, German games you apply for, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl you apply for, NFL honors you apply for. So I'm going to be there from the Monday 5th of February to the following Monday. And bro, it's been crazy. All of a sudden, I put something out on LinkedIn about you probably see the same sort of posts. It's like, I'm going to be out here for the week. If anybody wants to work, I'm happy to team up, sort of thing. But in the background, I've been trying to work with other outlets as well. So basically, the way it feels right now is like every day I've got something planned, just a piece of work.
Wow.
I have a show with 888 Sports. You probably don't know who they are over there. I don't know if they're in the States, but they're called 888.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
they're
the betting company.
Yeah. So we got a show over here with Jason Bell and a few other people in the UK, and this is my second season with them. And I'm going to be doing some content with them out there. I'm going to be doing a show with them out there. And then I've got another company, like a lifestyle company, who, bro, honestly, all this stuff is so surreal to me. I was doing a call. I went and met this company in London. I was, they were like, we want to work with you for lifestyle content, but also we do sporting content. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to be in Vegas for the Super Bowl. If you guys know anyone there, because they have is it Kissimmee? I think it's Kissimmee. Yeah. Kissimmee. It's somewhere in Florida. And they have an arm of connections to different parts of the States. And they were like, well, if you're going to be in Vegas, we can give you a helicopter tour to fly. I'm thinking, sorry, what? Like, this is all just, bro, it's all new and crazy to me. But so, for example, every day I should have something new, like whether I'm recording a show, getting fan content. You know about DAZN, right? DAZN, the platform?
Yeah. They're big. They mostly do boxing, and I think
they do.
Yeah, mostly boxing, combat sports in the US.
So they're big over here for NFL because they took over Game Pass. So I've been working with DAZN as of like a week ago. Someone from DAZN hit me up and was like, "Oh, we love your stuff. You got a great connection with the UK. Do you want to do some content for us?" So I've been making content for the playoffs. So I've made, like, when I say content, I mean like short reels, which is great, obviously, because the exposure is good to me. But to the point where I'm able to work with them in Vegas on the ground as well, doing some more fan content. So as it stands, like I've got so many things lined up that I feel like I'm going to be not burnt out, but I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, because the time difference is horrible. But like, I've never had to deal with that. But it's good. I mean, I'm going to do the stadium tour. I'm going to do Media Row, which I cannot wait for. Honestly, I cannot wait for Media Row because that's me in my element, man. If I'm able to speak to anybody, be it a coach, player, I don't know, personnel, boardman, anybody, I'm just going to go in and just get that content. So I can't wait. And then obviously the game is the icing on the cake.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you, you can be able to go to the game as well?
Yeah, so as it stands, I'm in something called a media workroom, which isn't in the stadium. It's like outside of the stadium. However, these outlets that I'm speaking to, 2 of them basically have opportunities for me to go and watch the game in the stadium.
Okay.
So I want to say it's looking good that I'll be able to actually watch the game too. But even if I couldn't, that week of being there and networking and making contacts is just going to be unreal, man.
Yeah, that's priceless. But hopefully you do get to go to the game because that's a bucket list type item. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm super impressed with everything you've done. I'm inspired by your journey. Like, I keep saying authenticity, but it just jumps off the screen. Just your love for the game and all that. It's amazing that you're able to succeed in the way you are, and hopefully you continue onwards and upwards for GeorgeOnSports and stuff. So
appreciate it, man.
I do want to ask you some NFL questions. So we'll start with the Super Bowl. We're recording this on January 17th. This will be up on YouTube in a couple of days, so probably before the divisional round. But who do you think you're going to be interviewing in a few weeks at the Super Bowl?
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I like that. All right. Okay, so I'm pretty certain. I don't know. Maybe I'll get Kyle Hamilton, 44 for the defense from the Ravens. Maybe Lamar Jackson. The only thing I'm concerned about now is the Bills are hot, man. And when the Bills play well, they play well. And their defense has been decimated. They lost Matt Milano. They lost Tre'Davious White as well early in the season. But they've seemed to have, they've come together real well. So for me, I feel like the Ravens can do it, but if anybody, maybe the Bills instead. In the NFC, before the Rams lost to the Lions, I was legit thinking there's a way the Detroit Rams could make it. Sorry, Detroit Rams. The LA Rams could make it all the way, but they lost that game by 1 point. So I'm certain the 49ers should make it there. Brock Purdy and the rest of the crew. So I'm going to go with the Ravens and the 49ers. Now, I know everyone's saying the same thing, but and I want to try and be different. But the way I see it, aside from the Bills, I feel like it's going to be the 49ers in the NFC and the Ravens in the AFC. Bro, they just got Mark Andrews back.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of people are trying to be different, and but it's just like I think we've all been watching the same games all year.
Yeah,
there's only been two, not flawless teams, but damn near flawless teams, and that's the Niners and Ravens. So
yeah,
I think like barring some kind of freak turnover game or injury or something, it should be those two guys or those two teams, which should make for a great Super Bowl.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not trying to be different. I'll go chalk one seed versus one seed. That just the path is laid out, and but it should be exciting. Of course, more on the AFC. I think the NFC is a little more cut and dry.
Yeah.
Again, unless something crazy happens. But yeah, so I mean, and for the Colts, I don't want to say disappointing end to the season, but maybe kind of disappointing, but not based on the expectations going in. So how are you feeling about the Colts? How are you feeling about Anthony Richardson and the future of the team?
Okay, here we go.
This is you in your element right now. I see you getting warmed up.
So I'm disappointed because we've had a better than expected season, right? And I say that because new head coach in Shane Steichen, first-time head coach. We lost our cornerback, Isaiah Rodgers Sr. He was suspended and traded to the Eagles for whatever it was, betting, I think it was. Lost him.
Yeah.
We didn't have JT for the first 3 or 4 games of the season. Lost him. Grover Stewart was suspended for 6 games at some point in the season. He was our number 1 run stopper. That affected our defense massively. Juju Brents, rookie cornerback, was injured his hamstring in week 1 or 2. He missed damn near 8-9 games, which really hurt us too. Dallas Flowers, another cornerback, he was out too. We have had it so hard, not to even talk about Anthony Richardson, who showed so much promise in the, 3
game and a half,
not even full, not even full games either, right? And you saw what he brought. He, on his own, is a threat. He didn't even get time with JT. We didn't even get the pick your poison scenario because he then landed on his shoulder and did his I think rotator cuff or whatever it was, and that's it. He's done, out for the season, which was absolutely gutting because I would have seen him in Germany. Didn't get to see him in Germany. In comes Minshew. Now, Minshew and Shane Steichen have that connection because they were at the Eagles together. I get that. But Minshew doesn't, he doesn't scare defenses. However, JT comes back. Always a good thing. And that opens it up a little bit. And what's then happened is our defense, whilst I'm not a fan of Gus Bradley and the whole soft zone, the 3, I'm not a big fan of the way he runs defense at all because from a quarterback point of view, there are pockets of space everywhere, and every team knows it because he never runs anything else other than cover 3, soft dash zone, and it gets on my nerves, right? Never blitzes.
I'm familiar as a Raiders fan with
exactly.
that. So
yeah. I mean, honestly, I know we beat you guys, but it wasn't, it was close. So in comes Gardner Minshew, and lo and behold, I think he's been all right. QBR, I think he's 13. QBR rating, I think he's 13th right now, which is pretty decent to be fair. So he's come in and he's done a great job, because I'll say it. I don't think we would have won 9 games without him. Potentially, we could say maybe we would have won more games and been in the playoffs by now with Anthony Richardson because he brings his own issues. Him and JT in the backfield is a problem. It's a problem. A guy who can throw the ball. There was a 3rd and 16 or 3rd and whatever it was. And Anthony Richardson is sitting in a pocket with pressure in his face and he delivers the prettiest ball I have seen to Josh Downs. This thing is spiraling through the sky. Like the guy's he's a unicorn. He is one of a kind. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. Okay, maybe he needs to learn how to step out of bounds every now and again. But the first, some of the injuries that some of the injuries that he had. I watched his end of season conference. So one of the ones was he landed on his knee. Unfortunately, he was hurt. Second one was someone stepped on his ankle. He was hurt. The third one is where, actually, no, he pulled up in the end zone a bit too early and took a massive hit, was concussed. Got to learn from that. And
First
then
game,
the shoulder issue, was just unfortunate. So, I mean, all things said, we've had a great season. We've got our defensive line was, I think, 5th in the regular season in sacks. 5th in sacks. Or not, it might have even been 3rd in sacks. DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye, Dayo Adengbo, Samson Ebukam, who we traded for from the 49ers after we let, I forget the other guy's name from the Raiders. We took him from you.
Ngakoue?
Ngakoue, yeah. I mean, our defensive line jumps off the chart each and every time. Our linebacker room, Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed. EJ Speed is the reason why we let Shaquille Leonard go. I didn't want to see Shaquille go, but the injuries and the back problems, he's even come out and talked about retirement, I think, now. So for
he's
him,
not the same guy anymore. No.
He's not the same guy. So it was sad to see him go, but EJ Speed is a baller. EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin have a podcast called In the Trenches, and it's just so legit, so authentic, and we're looking good right now. We just need Gus Bradley, unfortunately, is staying on board. I hear it. We're a young secondary, man. We're a young secondary, so we're only going to get better. We lost Julian Blackman towards the end of the season too, so that hurt us as well. But all in all, we had a good season, 9-8. It came down to one play. This is why I'm disappointed, because it came down to one play. JT's in. We call a timeout. We don't like the look. Shane thinks, all right, cool. If we leave JT in, it's too obvious it's a run. Let's take JT out and put in Goodson in, because then I guess it could be a pass or it could be a run. We run a play where Michael Pittman Jr. rubs a pick route, and it works like a dime. Tyler Gotton is schemed open, but the thing is, Minshew sees the QB sees the cornerback coming down, and he's thinking, I got to deliver this ball to the outside because I don't want it to get picked off. It's the last play of the game. He's in his head so much that the ball is slightly too far to the left, and Goodson gets his fingers on it. So it's both. The ball wasn't accurately thrown. Goodson
was a little behind him.
It was behind him. Goodson potentially could have caught that, and he had open space in front of him. For that to be the way our season ended is gutting, because if you look at what happened in the Jacksonville Jacksonville game and the Titans game, the Colts would be champions of the AFC South, bro. We would be champions of the AFC South, and we'd be hosting a home game in the playoffs. I'm mad. I stayed up to watch that game like I do all Sundays. I'm up at 4 a.m. doing stories on my socials, thinking this is not how the game's about to end. I'm like, okay, cool. We're gonna run this ball, get this first down. No. It took me back to like watching Marshawn Lynch in their Super Bowl, and they threw it and got intercepted by Butler when Marshawn Lynch is standing there at the 1 yard line. Bro, give it to him. Like, honestly, I was fuming. So that's why I'm disappointed, because our season did not deserve to end that way. It did not. However, we have overcome expectations. We far exceeded what we expected to do. Hell, the whole league thought we win 3 games, man. We won 9 games.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, I had 5. That was it. I had 5. So I can't be too mad. The future is bright. We've got top 3 cap space in the league. I think 70-something million with a quarterback who's already under contract. So we're good. We're good. Yeah, we got to sign Michael Pittman. We've got to do a few other deals, but we're looking good right now. Picking 15th in the draft. We're looking at cornerback. There's a guy called Kool-Aid who looks insane right now. Who maybe we can target. Yeah, Alabama. Ideally, I'd love to have. Jesus! I'd love to have Harrison Jr., but he's not going to fall to us. There is no way.
Nah.
So yeah, we're looking good, and the future is bright. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, you're right to be disappointed in the way it ended, especially like the play. It wasn't like you got blown out or something. It was just a little bit of execution, just fell a little short, and you could have been the ones playing the Browns, and you already beat them. I think they beat you guys earlier in the year, but that was a long time ago. So that was a crazy game.
That Browns game, we won that damn game. Them officials stole that win from us. They stole that win from us. We won that game. They called PI at the back of the end zone. I think it might have been on, I don't know who it was on, Jalen Jones, the rookie. That was one of the worst calls I've seen in my years of watching the sport, and took that win away from us, because otherwise, again, we'd be AFC champs, hosting a playoff game at home, and who knows how far we could have gone. So I'm pissed at that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fine margins all around. But yeah, the future is bright for you guys. A lot to be excited about. So I mean, you mentioned you're going to be at the Super Bowl. You got a lot of things cooking up in the next month or so. So where can people find your content?
So GeorgeOnSports, one word, on every single platform. That's YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great, people. Use LinkedIn. It's not what you think it is. Get on LinkedIn, Instagram,
I've heard
TikTok. It's great, bro. Honestly, every single platform. Threads. I'm on Threads as well. Same name, George on Sports. You can find me on there. If you go on any podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, George on Sports again, you'll see my episodes on there too. The last episode I uploaded was with who was it with? Shield Kapadia
The
from the
Shield
Ringer.
Kapadia, yeah.
That's the one. I'm trying to get Ben Solak, but he's really hard to get hold of. So yeah, I mean, I love the sport. Hopefully, you can tell from from the way I come across. But yeah, hopefully, I should have some good stuff coming soon.
I'm gonna say it for like the 100th time today, but authenticity and the knowledge and the love for the game, it's really apparent. So I appreciate you, man. Best of luck to you. Be safe in Vegas. Don't gamble all your money. Have fun. And I'm sure hopefully you get to watch the game maybe from the sideline, and be awesome to connect sometime after the Super Bowl or during the off season. We can talk a little more Colts and just NFL in general, man. So best of luck to you.
100%. Thank you for having me on the show, man. I've enjoyed it.
For sure. Appreciate you, brother.